Hello, Pony. It's Lotus Moon. Okay, so I made quite the interesting discovery. For as long as I've had my mic, I did look up some things about it, but I guess I didn't completely pay attention because if I had, then I would have realized that my pop filter was on the wrong side. Alright, so basically, I have a Blue Yeti microphone, and I have my pop filter on the side of it that had the gain and the 4 different patterns that you can use for recording, and I had the pattern set on the 360 mode, which is basically why I caught everything, even though it annoyed me. So I set it so that my mic could only catch what is happening in the front of the mic, and the front of the mic just happens to be where the volume and mute button is. And well, it works. I don't believe I'm catching any loud sounds in the background. It also means that I have to contort my pop filter at a pretty strange angle just to record properly. I'm still going to make the sound box, so don't worry. Anyway, I want to bring you my latest reading. This reading I've been putting off for a while because a lot of stuff came up, but this is actually quite the touching reading. The story is called Honorary Apple, and it was written by 67. I do hope you enjoy it, every pony. Honorary Apple, written by 67. The evening air sent a brief chill over Ponyville as shop owners began packing up their things to settle down for the night. The weather ponies began to clear the sky of clouds and prepared for nightfall. Winter had just settled over the small town, and the first bits of snow fallen earlier in the week. Fillies gathered up their things and turned to their parents and headed home. Overhead, Rainbow Dash zoomed through the sky. Her shift as a weather pony had just ended, and she was getting ready to go home. The cold wind blew through her mane as she flapped her wings faster and faster. She could see her cloud castle in the distance as she began to decrease her speed. She landed at the entrance and took a moment to catch her breath and admired the view from her home. Nice view, she thought to herself. Once her composure was regained, she fumbled for her keys in her saddlebag. When she had a hold of them, she jiggled them in the keyhole and gently unlocked her front door and closed it gently behind her. Walking into her home, she quickly set her things aside and slowly made her way to the bathroom. Once she was inside, she stared at herself in the mirror and cracked a soft smile at her reflection. "Looking good, Dash," she said with a hint of sarcasm. Rainbow quickly adjusted her body, stretching out her joints in her wings, which cracked loudly as she gave a satisfied grunt. Nothing like a little hard work to get the old body all worked up," she said to no pony in particular. She turned on her shower and cocked an eyebrow. After giving her body a quick whiff, she noticed that after working all afternoon, she had attained quite the odor. "Phew, only one way to take care of that," she said internally. Slowly stepping towards the large shower, she reached the hoof around to the three small dials inside of it. After twisting one of the small dials, she slowly stepped inside the stall, letting the lukewarm water run down her body. Rainbow sighed, allowing her mind to wander as the water flowed down her mane and neck. She moaned contentedly as the water washed away all her stress from her hours upon hours of weather pony work. After about 10 minutes of this or so, she turned off the shower and stepped out of the large stall, shaking off any excess water, allowing her mane to fluff back into its natural position. After drying herself off, Rainbow walked out of the bathroom, gently shutting the door behind her, and proceeded down the dimly lit hallway that was leading to her bedroom. Rainbow Dash gently trotted down the hallway, that of which was lined with multiple Wonderball posters and various pictures of herself. Once reaching her bedroom door, she entered through it slowly and walked towards her large bed. She walked towards her nightstand and retrieved a copy of the latest Daring Do comic book. Hopping on her bed, she glanced over to her pet tortoise Tank, who was currently fast asleep in his makeshift bed of cloud-lined floor. "Sweet dreams, little guy," she said with a small smile. She turned her attention back to the comic book and began to rapidly flip through the pages. She had already read this current issue and was currently waiting for the next issue to be released sometime next month. Sighing to herself in boredom, she gently closed the comic book and set it back on her nightstand and flopped over on her back, staring at the colorful ceiling. Slowly, her mind drifted to her 5 friends and what they could be doing at this time. It was in this moment that she realized that Hearthwarming Eve was coming up in a few days, which meant a majority of her friends would be visiting a family. She knew that, for a fact, that Twilight and Rarity were gone visiting family in Canterlot. Fluttershy would be busy with her animal caretaker duties, and Pinkie had gone south to visit her family at their rock farm. Dash sighed. That left Applejack. She looked at her window. The sun hadn't gone down yet, which meant that AJ would most likely still be bucking apples. She considered paying her friend a visit, but decided that she didn't want to impose at this time of day. Her train of thought was interrupted by a loud rumble that echoed throughout her entire bedroom. "What the hey was that?" she thought. Rainbow's eyes darted from side to side, looking around her bedroom before finally locating the source of the noise. Her stomach. It rumbled again, this time much louder, causing Rainbow to prod her gut with a hoof. "Shut it," she said plainly. She sighed, thinking back to this mournful reminder that she had overslept, which made her run late for work, which in turn caused her to skip breakfast. She imagined a big, juicy, warm, and steamed hay burger with fresh hay fries. The thought alone was enough to make her mouth water and her stomach grumble loudly. Rainbow sat upwards in her bed, sighing once more. She was now faced with 2 dilemmas. Not only was she bored, she was now hungry. Her stomach let out another audible protest in hunger, which was so loud that it nearly woke Tank from his slumber. All right, I heard you," Rainbow said, looking down at her middle. Letting out a frustrated groan, she quietly got out of bed and made her way to the kitchen. As Rainbow trotted towards the kitchen, she gave a frustrated sigh as her stomach became a dull ache. Upon entering her kitchen, her face lit up as she eyed her refrigerator and opened it. Her initial smile turned to a stoic frown upon seeing her fridge's content. Aside from various bottles of water and other mysterious liquids and a half-eaten cupcake, it was completely empty. Shutting her fridge with an irritated groan, she turned around, eyeing her large cupboards above her sink. She quickly checked her cupboards. Upon opening them up at a rapid pace, inside the smallest one, she found a large box of Wonderbolt stylized cereal, to which she grabbed a hoofful and plopped it into her mouth. Upon doing this, however, Rainbow soon realized that the cereal was horribly stale and quickly spat out the pieces. "Ah, come on!" she yelled, hoofs crossed, flopping on down on the kitchen floor, pouting angrily. "This sucks," she moaned. Due to her busy and eccentric lifestyle, Rainbow Dash barely bought food. She would mostly eat takeout or end up grabbing a quick meal from Sugar Cube Corner. And whenever she did try to cook food, it never ended well. She would either end up getting bored midway through the cooking process, or she might end up outright burning her meal. Sighing once more, her mind drifted back to her friend Applejack and her family's famous cuisine. This time, an image of a warm slice of apple pie next to a mug of famous Apple family cider floated into her mind, causing her to lick her lips involuntarily. Looking out her window once more, she noticed the sun was just now beginning to set. "Applejack won't mind if I swing by for a little snack, would she?" Dash thought to herself. Surely her good friend, honest Applejack, wouldn't mind. Her stomach made the decision for her with another muffled groan. This time, Dash could only smile. "You win this round," she said internally, looking down at herself. With that, Rainbow Dash stepped out of her front door and spread her wings, preparing for flight. The sun was beginning to set at a rapid pace, so she had to be quick. And luckily, that's what Rainbow Dash did best. A pair of golden delicious apples fell from their respective branches into a large brown basket that was already filled to the brim with various other apples. "Phew! That's the last of them over here, Mac. Did you finish up your side of the farm?" Applejack asked as she set the basket of apples down, turning to her oldest sibling. "Yup," Big Macintosh responded, back with his usual monotone drawl. Applejack let out a satisfied sigh. She had been working for hours now as Applebug season finally came to a close. She trotted over to the open interior of the large red barn and sat back on her haunches, giving another sigh of relief as she rested her eyes. Big Mac slowly trotted out, slowly in front of her. "Granny's got dinner going, so I figure I better go in and help her," Max said to no response. He trotted closer to his sister. Her eyes were closed, chest slowly moving up and down with a shallow breath. "You alright, AJ?" Still no response. Big Mac stepped towards his sister, repeating his question. This time, Applejack gave Big Mac a weak glance of acknowledgement. "Huh? Oh, sorry, Mac. I'm just resting my hooves for the day," Applejack weakly said, gesturing at her hoofs. Big Mac smiled. He told AJ that he was there if she needed him to watch, to which she responded with a brief hug, and with that, he slowly made his way inside to help cook dinner. Applejack smiled as she looked at the sunset. She had to admit, despite her frequent chores, staring at the sunset was one of her favorite things to do to pass the time. She yawned. Working nonstop in the fields all day had left her physically and mentally drained, and pretty soon her eyelids began to feel extremely heavy. But just before slowly falling into a slumber, the sound of flapping wings in the sky disturbed her. Darn darn it, who or what would that be?" Applejack bellowed groggily, steadily rising from her near slumber state. As the sound began to get closer, Applejack slowly got up from her spot in the barn and began to investigate the source of the sound. Looking up in the sky, a cyan-colored blob was barely visible, but although Applejack could make out who the Pegasus was. "Rainbow," she thought to herself before cracking a small smile. "Come on down, RD. I see you up there," Applejack yelled up to the blob in the sky. Up in the sky, Rainbow's ear twitched at the sound of her name being called. However, upon realizing who the voice belonged to, she gave a nervous glance down towards the ground below. Just gotta grab a snack, then leave. Simple as that, she thought to herself. Swooping downwards, she hovered closer to the ground, locking eyes with her friends. Hey, AJ, what's up? Rainbow uttered as she landed. Applejack glanced back at her, giving a warm and friendly smile. Not much, RD. Aside from the usual apple bucking and whatnot, Applejack responded, seemingly eyeing the Pegasus down. I'm surprised you're still even in Ponyville. Around this time of year, don't you got family in Cloudsdale? Applejack said, with a tone of genuine interest. Yeah, about that, Dash began, rubbing the back of her head with a hoof, trying to avoid direct eye contact. As much as she hated to admit it, the holiday season was one of the times of the year she dreaded the most. Dash loathed the fact that all her friends were gone away with their families, while she would usually be at home alone. To be completely honest, Dash didn't really have much of a family to begin with, well, aside from her father. And even her relationship with him was strained, to say the least. Rainbow sighed as another thing was added to her list of dilemmas. She was bored, hungry, and most of all, she was lonely. It was moments like these that Rainbow Dash felt absolutely pathetic, and yet here she was, getting ready to beg her friend Applejack for a free meal, while her other friends were probably off having the time of their lives with their respective families. For a brief second, Rainbow Dash considered cutting her losses and taking off into the now moonlit sky and leaving without a word, but a sudden orange hoof lightly rested on her shoulder caught her attention. Is everything okay, Sugar Cube? Applejack asked, her face a mask of genuine concern. Well, it's that I just, Rainbow stammered, struggling to find her words. Dash, are you feeling lonesome? AJ said with a reassuring tone. How the hell did she know? Rainbow thought to herself before turning to Applejack, finally making eye contact. No. Well, maybe. It's just that all the other girls are with their family and stuff. And, well, I guess I got a bit lonely, Dash stammered bashfully. Well, shucks. Why didn't you say so, girl? Applejack responded with a light grin. We got plenty of room here on the farm, and you're always welcome to stay the night if you like. Rainbow pondered for a brief moment. What would Applejack's family think? Would she appear like a freeloader looking for a handout? A million thoughts raced through Rainbow Dash's mind until something clicked in the back of her conscience. What was she thinking? Applejack was her friend, for crying out loud. Of course she'd be willing to help her out. She turned back to Applejack, who was smiling gleefully. Yeah, I guess spending the night wouldn't hurt. Would it? Rainbow said, returning to smile. Applejack gave a gentle laugh before speaking again. Of course not, Sugar Cube. I would... Before Applejack could finish, Rainbow Dash's stomach interrupted the cow pony mid-sentence with another loud grumble. At that sound, Rainbow gave a nervous chuckle, patting her irritated organ in an effort to quiet it. Whoa, Nelly, I ain't never heard a noise like that in a mighty long time, partner. I'm quite impressed, Applejack said with a chuckle. Yes, sorry about that, Rainbow uttered, her voice barely above a whisper. Let's get some food up in you before you starve. Granny should be just about finished up with dinner. That sounds great, AJ, Dash replied back. And with that, the two friends trotted towards the Apple family home. As they made their way inside, Applejack gently closed the door behind them, and they soon made their way towards the kitchen. As she made her way down the hall, Rainbow's nose was instantly hit with a warm and delicious smell, one that she instantly recognized as the scent of warm apple pie that she had long desired. Oh my gosh, that smells amazing, Dash thought to herself, mouth watering. Applejack? Is that you? The familiar voice of Granny Smith hollered out. Yeah, Granny, it's me. Sorry I took so long, but I was having a little chat with Rainbow Dash, Applejack bellowed back, her voice directed towards the kitchen. Your Pegasus friend? Yeah, and I hope y'all don't mind, but Rainbow's been feeling a mite lonesome, so she's gonna be joining us for dinner. Of course not, sugar. The more the merrier, Granny Smith yelled back. Applejack smiled, turning back to Rainbow, who was currently salivating. Hungry, Sugar Cube? Applejack said, muffling a giggle with her hoof as Rainbow's stomach continued to make its presence known, rumbling and groaning audibly. Starving, Rainbow replied blankly, her voice dangerously low. Well then, let's get to it, Applejack said, chuckling once more. The duo made their way into the Apple family kitchen, where Big Mac, Granny Smith, and young Apple Bloom were already setting up the dinner table with various foods and silverware. An apple pie, apple crisp, apple turnover, multiple bowls of steamed hay, and several large mugs of fresh apple cider were all piled onto the large wooden table at an extreme pace as Big Mac quickly set down the silverware for every pony to enjoy. Rainbow Dash eyed the apple pie. Its flaky, warm, golden crust called out to her, and she nearly fainted at the sight of it. Her mouth watered drastically. She was practically drooling. Looks good, don't it? Applejack asked, coming up from behind her, placing a hoof on Dash's shoulder. The only response she received was yet another loud grumble from Rainbow. Apple Bloom laughed. Wow, Rainbow! It sounds like you got a Timberwolf trapped inside you. The filly giggled as she took her seat at the dinner table. Rainbow snapped out of her momentary hunger-induced trance and gave a light blush. Upon noticing this, Granny Smith walked over to her and spoke up. Aw, shucks, girl. Ain't nothing to be ashamed of, she began. No pony in their right mind can resist a good old slice of homemade apple pie. Ain't that right, Mac? Yup. Rainbow Dash smiled. The Apple family's southern hospitality was beginning to make her feel right at home. Yeah, it smells great, and you guys are awesome cooks, Rainbow Dash said with a light grin. Wasn't nothing to it, sugar, Granny Smith replied, taking her own seat at the head of the table. Suddenly, another loud growling sound throughout the room, but only this time it came from Applejack's stomach. I don't know about y'all, but I'm starving. Let's eat, Applejack bellowed. Yes, finally, Dash agreed. With that, every pony gathered their own individual plates and started stacking them high with mountains of food. Dash took a huge slice of apple pie and began to make her way back to her seat. Once she was seated, she immediately dove right into her meal, wolfing down bite after bite of warm apple pie. "This tastes so amazing!" Rainbow exclaimed, mouthful of food. Applejack was no different. She plowed through multiple plates of apple crisp at an extreme pace. Mmm, this is some cooking you did, Granny, Applejack said before taking a huge bite out of a piece of apple crisp. Big Mac, Apple Bloom, and Granny Smith all sat in amazement as they watched the two mares pack away plate after plate. They knew that Applejack and Rainbow Dash both had huge appetites, but to see them in action up close and personal was fascinating, to say the least. "Hey, AJ," Rainbow Dash said, wrapping a hoof around a mug of apple cider. "Yeah, Dash? I bet I can drink more cider than you." "Is that a challenge?" "Maybe. Only if you're not too chicken." "You're on, Sugar Cube." Uh, Too much. I'm stuffed." Both Applejack and Rainbow Dash were slumped in their respective chairs, stomachs bulging. They had each eaten well over 3 plates of dinner and had drunken a lot of cider. And they had been like this for the past 20 minutes. Young Apple Bloom had dozed off minutes ago, and Big Mac had gone off to tuck her into bed for the night, while Granny Smith was just now finishing clearing the remaining dishes. "I hope you two learned your lessons by now," she said sternly, stacking 2 squeaky clean plates on top of each other. "I'm glad y'all enjoy my food, but being gluttons ain't ever a good thing." Applejack suppressed an unruly burp with a hoof. "Ugh, sorry, Granny. I don't know what came over me." "Yeah, sorry," Rainbow uttered, echoing the apology. Granny Smith gave a gentle sigh and turned towards the pair with a warm smile. "Now, I'm sure that the both of y'all can get to bed without little old me rolling y'all out with a wheelbarrow, right?" The 2 mares could only respond with groans as another wave of nausea hit them. At this, Granny Smith could only give a warm smile. "Yeah, I'll take that as no," she said, laughing. "Oh, and Rainbow, y'all can sleep in the guest room upstairs next to Applejack's room." Granny Smith chuckled as she grasped another filthy plate and plopped it into the sink. Soon after that, Granny Smith eventually gathered up the remaining dishes and made her way out of the kitchen, leaving the 2 mares in complete silence, aside from the occasional moan of discomfort. After roughly 15 minutes of silence, Applejack finally spoke up. "Alright, Dash. I think we should hit the hay." Rainbow Dash, who had been completely silent, was slumped over in her seat weakly, gave Applejack a brief glance and sighed. "Yeah, that's probably a good idea," she retorted, rolling out of the seat, hooves touching the cold wooden floor. "Whew, boy, I am stuffed. I'm not even sure I can walk." "Tell me about it, Sugar. Oof. I feel like one of our prize-winning hogs," Applejack said as she and Rainbow lightly trotted out into the dimly lit hallway. The duo slowly walked together to the large staircase that led up to the multiple bedrooms and slowly made their way up the stairs. Upon reaching the top, Applejack turned to Rainbow and wished her a good night's rest and prepared to enter her bedroom when suddenly the familiar raspy voice of Rainbow Dash stopped her. Uh, hey, Applejack? Yes, Sugar Cube? Thanks. Applejack turned and briefly scratched her head in confusion. Uh, you're welcome. Thanks for what? Rainbow Dash sighed. She had always struggled with showing her gratitude, especially when it came to her friends. After quickly out giving out another frustrated groan, she turned back towards Applejack and spoke. You know, for everything. Food, bed, hospitality, all of it. And most of all, for being my friend. Dash face hooked internally, hoping she didn't sound too sappy. Applejack blushed, struggling to find her words. Aw, shucks, RD. It wasn't anything special. Heck, I've always considered having an honorary apple anyway. With that, the two friends embraced in a soft hug and exchanged goodnights before going their separate ways and entering their respective rooms. Rainbow Dash slowly entered the family guest room and gave a sigh of relief as she flopped onto her back as the bed springs creaked and groaned. The weight of her bloated stomach was putting pressure on her chest, causing her to roll onto her side. Rainbow stared into the darkness and smiled. For the first time in a long time, she felt like she truly belonged. She felt like she had a family. She felt welcomed. She felt like, well, an honorary apple. Eventually, Rainbow Dash felt her eyes grow heavy and she gave a tired yawn. Internally thanking Applejack once more, she shut her eyes and fell into a deep sleep. A deep, peaceful, relaxing, and quiet slumber. And that was Honorary Apple, written by 67. Alright, Pony, I do hope you enjoyed this story. The little eating contest between Rainbow Dash and Applejack, I think that's a given for them in any universe. I don't think that part of them will ever change. They're both pretty competitive. And I can't help but think about the astonished looks on Granny Smith, Big Mac, and Applemoon's faces seeing Rainbow Dash and Applejack eat so much food like it was nothing. But 3 plates? I have a couple relatives that put away a little more than that at family get-togethers. A hearty appetite is good, but when you do it in excess, it's not so good. In fact, I've done that myself when I was on vacation with the family. We went to an all-you-can-eat seafood buffet, and after about maybe 4 plates, we all got pretty full. Yet after sitting and resting for maybe a good 10 minutes, we just went back for more. That was the true meaning of gluttony that day. I don't think we'll ever live that down with ourselves. Anyway, every pony, I hope you look forward to more of my readings. I am Liz Moon, and I want to wish you all a good morning, afternoon, evening, or night wherever you are, every pony. Good night.